Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about sewing cloth pads. And if you are subscribed to this channel because you enjoy watching cloth pads from other sellers and things like unboxing videos and fluff mail, stuff like that, then this would not be the video for you. This is really a video for people who are trying to sew their own cloth pads. So I'm going to go step by step over some things that are important to know when you're sewing cloth pads. In all of the patterns that I sell, there is an instructions page included, and I'm kind of going to use this as a thing to refer to as I'm going through step by step. So on the first page there, it tells you the fabrics that you would need and kind of some other materials and supplies that you would need. And then the first step is that, well, one thing that is important to know that is noted in the instructions is that all of my patterns are sew on the line patterns. There's no seam allowance. So I'm going to show you in this video how to sew on the line and use patterns like that. And it will help you in the future with other pattern sellers as well. A lot of pattern sellers do include a pattern with a seam allowance, but these days it's kind of gravitating towards no longer doing that. So with cloth pads anyway. Okay, so step one is to pre-wash all of your sewing fabrics. This is very important because if you do not pre-wash cotton materials, then, and if you don't do it properly, then when you go to make your pad and then you sew it all together and you wash it for the first time, it's going to become really wonky because it'll shrink in certain places. And some people think, well, if I don't pre-wash any of my materials and I just sew them together and then wash it, then it's all going to shrink the same and it'll be fine. Well, no, that's not okay because you're dealing with different types of fabrics, and so they're all going to shrink in a different way, in a different measurement. So you're still going to get a wonky pad. So take the extra time to pre-wash your materials. And some people say, well, I don't have a dryer, so can I just hang dry? And the answer is really, technically, no. You really do need a dryer. So if you have to go to a laundromat or, because the dryer is the most essential part. It's called torture washing. Torture prepping is what the term is. And that is where you wash on normal room temp, warm setting, and then you dry it on the highest heat, and that is going to get you the maximum shrinkage. When you're dealing with bamboo, organic bamboo, super heavy organic bamboo fleece, or hemp, or why can't I think of the word, French terry, you would need to wash those up to about five times is usually what that is. You can draw on the fabric with a permanent marker. You can draw a square, measure it, and then each time you wash, and you can see the square shrinking. So once that square stops shrinking, then you know, okay, I have the maximum shrinkage here. This fabric is good to go. Okay, so now I'm going to jump into the actual sewing part. I hope you all enjoy this video. And leave me your feedback below. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you would like. And here we go. Okay, step two is pattern assembly. And I hope this is a good enough angle here. Basically, this is what the patterns look like. And what you would do is you need to line up the patterns on this line. Each page comes with the top flare. The really cool thing about the patterns is that you can mix and match. You can change out the wings, you can change out the flares. So for this pattern, we're going to use a tween edition horizon and a hexie. Two different shapes with a BB diamond, which stands for back bleeder diamond. But that's what the shape is. So this is what we're going to do. I prefer to cut on this line here on my patterns. Let me grab my scissors. Oh, I grabbed the wrong scissors. I'm going to cut on this line here, straight across on both patterns. And I don't have a pause button on my camera there. Sorry if you hear background noise. My kids are in the room with me. They're watching Wall-E, Disney movie. And fighting. That's what they do. They're boys. So, you're probably going to hear that. Okay, now that I've cut on the line, on Caden, please share with him. Now I'm going to take the flares and put them on I'm going to line them up on the octagon shapes here, so that they match in the middle. Sometimes it's not completely perfect with the octagon, so you're going to really kind of rely on the middle part, making sure it lines up perfectly. And then tape. But really, it is very important to get it perfectly lined up, because what your pattern looks like is exactly how your pad's going to look like. So it's a very important thing to get it lined up. Bear with me. I am like a really particular about getting it lined up. Okay, now there are two different things that you can do here. Also, I forgot to mention that when you print this from your computer, you need to make sure that you're printing at 100% on your PDF viewer or actual size. And then once you've printed, measure this box to make sure that it measures exactly 1 inch. Otherwise, it may have printed wrong. Okay, so we have our pattern pieced together here, and now there are two different options here. If I know that this is a pattern that I'm going to use more than once, and I really love it, well, then I'm going to put it onto a hard plastic template, which looks like this. And this template can be found at the dollar store. That's where I buy them. These are plastic cutting mats. So if I want to keep the pattern, that's what I would do. If I'm just using the pattern one time, say I'm a pattern tester, or I'm just kind of trying it out, I'm not sure of it yet, well, then I would cut it out on the black line all the way around. That's how I would cut it out. And it's very important that whenever you are cutting, you cut exactly on that line, and you are very particular about it. I've seen a lot of people who just kind of cut, and they go really fast, and then their pads kind of look a little wonky, and they're like, I don't know what I did wrong. And it's just really important that you have the pattern be exact. Now, so say I was going to put this on the template. I would kind of cut around this pattern a little bit, around the edges. All right, then I would take a glue stick. I would glue it all around here, flip it over, and put it onto the template like this. Smooth it down really good. And then after it's glued onto the template, then I would very carefully cut on the black line and cut my pattern out. That ensures that I'm going to get a perfect pattern as I'm cutting. So that's one of my little tricks. All right, now let's move on to step 3. Okay, we're going to make this pad instead. I made this last night. I'm testing a new pattern, and I had to adjust the wing width because I'd like it to be a little bit closer. There's a lot of overlap here. So I did up a new pattern, and this is going to be a part of the tween edition. So this is what we're going to use instead. And we're going to make a light using this core. I'm only planning on using this once, so I went ahead and cut it out on the line. And then I cut out a second core as well that goes in the middle. So we use this pattern here, and for this method I'm showing you how to do a hidden core because that is a big question that I get asked a lot. So for this you need muslin or flannel. I use muslin, and then you make sure to iron it nice and smooth. You want to have a nice hot iron. Ironing is probably the most important thing, the most important tip I can give you for making cloth pads. Okay, so you just lay this on your muslin. You use a marker, and then because you're doing a hidden core and your marker will not be seen, you can use a permanent marker. I tend to like to use like a felt tip pen. These are considered pens, but they are kind of like markers. These are my favorite brand. It's Paper Mate, if you care. And then you trace around this, and then when you're holding this, you hold it very still. You be very, very, very particular because the way you trace it down, like I said, is the exact way that your pad will turn out because you are doing a sew on the line method. So the tracing part is very important. Also, I'm seeing a lot of people post pictures of their tracing lines, and they're using these really big fat markers. I'm going to give you a suggestion to not do that. You really need to have a marker that is more precise, thin, and crisp. That way it gives you a thin line that's almost like the same thinness of the pattern itself, because your needle, anyway, you're going to be sewing on this line, so it's very important to just have a thin line. Okay, so now that that is done there, now we need our core piece. So we take our core, and for this I'm going to be using a piece of scrap from my scrap bin, and this is scrap, what is this? This is bamboo fleece 300 GSM, which is a light for my shop. So you just use your core piece and do the same exact thing. For the core, it's not as important to be exact, but I guess it's always good to just practice, and you might as well. You might as well get it nice and pretty. Okay, now you cut your core out. Also, a side note is that never use your pattern cutting paper scissors with your fabric, or better yet, the other way around. Don't use your fabric scissors on paper. So get some scissors that are specifically for your fabrics and sewing. Okay, now that this is cut out, that's gonna go right in the middle. I hope the lighting is good here. Okay, so for this, another little trick of mine is to use a glue stick to tack down the core. So you just put a light layer, just a little bit. It just gives it a little grip.
Well, he's undergoing major myelination and synaptic pruning in the orbital frontal cortex and excitatory neurotransmitters, all of which have massive.
And then you tack that down in your core. It keeps it from moving, and then you can sew it. Just loosely cut around my muslin here, my shape. Okay, this is what it looks like. and I'm ready to sew this down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just sew around the core and attach it to this muslin piece. Okay, here we go. We are sewing the core down to the muslin. Sorry, I can't. The camera is so close that I can't maneuver my fabric. And now I'm kind of messing up. Sorry if I'm shaking the camera. I'm terrible at these videos. Okay, that's it. Now it is sewn to the muslin. Now on to the next step. Okay, so I'm using some scraps for this video. So, find my place here. Excuse that. This is the topper fabric here that I'm using. I iron it flat. My muslin that I traced and put the core onto. Just trim some threads off. It's being a butthead. What? I love you too, baby. And I just iron that one more time. Okay. I'm gonna place this right here. Lay it nice and flat. Cut around it. And back to the scrap bin that goes. Now we have the topper on the bottom. What is this? Ugh, this must have been a flawed piece. Grrr. Okay. All right, so let's repeat that step. Now you get to watch it twice. Oh man, that stinks. There's like a white spot on my knit. An imperfection. Okay. So once again, trim off the excess. Okay. Now we have our topper on bottom. Then we have our muslin, our core right here. And you can see that this is the line that we sew on. Now we put this just the way it is. We get our backer material. Sorry, I'm using this scrap. Gotta get as much out of it as I can. Just cut the excess off. Just makes it a little easier when sewing. Put that back in my scrap bin. Okay, so now we have the topper against the fuzzy side of the backer material, and then the muslin with the sewing line on top. And now we're going to sew these 3 layers just like this together. I just use a few pins Not very many since it's just a tiny pad. Okay, let's do this step. We're gonna sew this pad together. For this step, I have my stitch width set to the middle, which on my machine is 4.1. It puts the needle in the middle of my presser foot. This is the stitch length, and I have it at 2.5. So, like I said, the needle is in the middle. I have a walking foot attached to my sewing machine, and it is threaded and ready to go. Hopefully this is an okay angle. I'm going to start, oh well, where are you? I'm going to start sewing on the wing here and leave myself a little tiny turn hole right here. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to end here and leave about an inch turn hole because it's only a light pad. Make sure to back stitch. I think the camera's probably shaking a bit. I wish I had one of those time lapse. I don't know how to do that. I've been meaning to ask somebody to show me. Just go slow around the corners, or corners. Nope, one more. And when you're sewing this, you stay on the line perfectly. As long as you follow the line perfectly, you will have a perfect pad. My fabric's caught on the camera. Oopsie. Okay, now 1, 2, 3, back 3, forward 3, and that's it. Now we're going to trim the pad. Now we take out the pins, and then I get my sewing scissors. Oh, my hand's in the way. Oh, this is so hard to do. Trim the threads, and then snip into the corners. Get really close, but not too close, because if you cut that thread, then you're going to have a hole. But you want to get really close. Forgive me for how slow I'm going. I'm holding my hands in an awkward way that I'm not used to doing. Okay, now I use pinking shears to trim around. That's another trick. And I just trim. Can you even see what I'm doing? Sorry guys, this video is crazy. I'm trying to adjust. I hate when I'm watching videos and the person's adjusting their camera. Ugh. And there I am doing it. So sorry. I hate when I do things that are like pet peeves of mine, and then I do them, and then I can't think straight because I'm like, oh, I'm doing things that I know irritate me, so I know I'm irritating everybody. Okay, so as you can see, I just went over the turn hole, and I left fabric there. Instead of making it short like the rest, I left a little turning area. Oh, this is hurting my hand to hold this at this angle. I don't even know. Basically, the camera is on a tripod and it's pointed downward, and so I can't even see the camera to know if it's even recording properly. Almost done. Okay. Woo! I need a break. Okay, get all your little excess fuzzies off there. Alright, now let me get rid of this garbage here. Now, here's your turn hole. You're going to want to, there's 2 layers there. You're going to go between the backer layer and the top layer. Put your finger in there. Grab the top of the pad here. Push it through until it comes back to the hole. And then pull it through. I use a... Oh wait, we're not there yet. Stop getting ahead of yourself, Casey. Just turn the pad. Ugh. The turn hole is a little small. I only made it an inch wide, and it's pretty tricky. Sometimes you have to do that though, depending on what the pattern calls for. Sometimes you get a tricky, there we go. There it went. So smooth out all of the edges. Smooth it out. I use a size 10 knitting or crochet hook needle, and just go around on the inside and kind of work out those edges that they're fighting over. Stop, stop. Once I have this step done, then it's time to iron this flat again before top stitching. So I'm gonna go iron this and then we will top stitch. Okay, we're ready to top stitch. I'm gonna change my needle position all the way to the right. So I move the needle. Am I in the camera? Here we go. I move the needle all the way to the right. Then I line up the edge of the fabric to the foot, the edge of my presser foot and walking foot. And that's where I line it up. And I keep it exactly in that line the whole time I'm top stitching. Hang on. Go forward and backwards. Do you ever mess up because people are watching you? That's how I feel right now. I can already see things that I've done that I wouldn't normally do. And I think it's because you all are watching me. Forgive me for dropping you. Basically, we're just going to keep going around the entire pad. And then it'll be finished. And that'll be the last step. So, I don't think I can stop the camera from wanting to fall over. If it falls over again, I'm just gonna stop filming. And then we are going to put on snaps and we'll be done. Back stitching. Done, dun, dun, dun. All done. Okay, so for applying snaps, you'll need snap pliers. I use the Dritz brand by Babyville, and an awl. That's for poking the hole. And for this, I decided to do mix match snaps, orange and green. So, fold over the wing, line it up so that there's no bunching. You don't want you don't want it to be folding inward or having any bunching. Make sure it's nice and flat. And then poke the hole through the 2 layers. Ow! Don't poke your fingers like I do, like almost every time. Put the snap through, then the male snap. Squeeze. Then put the female snap on the other side. Squeeze. There we go. How does it look? Perfect for my niece. She's going to love it. There it is. And there you go. You have a completed pad. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoy mixing and matching Leak Freak patterns to create something really special and unique and beautiful. There's currently a bunch of options on my Etsy shop for patterns, and yeah, it's just so much fun to pick what you want and then make it. I just wanted to give a special shout out to Courtney at Versatile. I don't know if you guys know of her, but you probably do. She invented, yeah, she's the original person who come up with the mix and match concept for the patterns. And she has her whole line of patterns that are the same, like they mix and match and you can change out the wings and things like that. So her brilliant mind thought of that and made that concept, and that really kind of created so many possibilities in the cloth pad community. So special shout out to Versatile. I'm going to link her in the description below so you guys can check out her shop as well. I know that means that there are so many patterns to choose from, but that was the plan. That was the purpose. That's exactly what I know. I can only speak for myself, of course, but that was what my whole motivation when I started this journey in January of offering my shapes from my shop was to put out there all of these options for shapes and to kind of eliminate the cloth pad pattern drama that existed in the past, so that people had all of these options and can create their own thing based on patterns that they purchased, and then no 2 shops kind of have the same thing. It's very unique. So I know that this isn't necessarily about shops that are using these patterns. These are about all of you using these patterns. But anyway, I hope you enjoy them, and I hope you have fun sewing, and make sure to post in my Facebook group. It's Patterns and Designs by Leak Freak, and share your creations. I want to see what you all make. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.